Good evening, everyone. I wanted to take this opportunity to come to you with another book that I read recently. It's been a minute. I've been reading all summer, but I read a pretty special book. I actually read a book that was just published this year. It's a memoir, as you see on the screen. It's called A Horse-Drawn Sickle Bar Cutter by Robert Merrick Fuller, subtitled Finding My Road to Felicity. And if you know as little about a horse-drawn sickle bar cutter as I did, the picture on the front will help you to understand what that is. But it's basically a piece of farm equipment that cuts grasses and hay in the field. And this author um, was grew up and was raised among four generations of dairy farmers on the East Coast. He spent some time in Maine. He spent time in the Midwest. He spends time in various places. But at some point in his early 20s, he decides that the dairy life is not for him. And he's kind of known that for a while. And the book focuses on his basically finding himself, the typical find yourself when you're in your 20s kind of exploratory situation. And he has a very unique journey in that he finds out later for a young man, but basically pretty early in his journey, that he needs to make conscious decisions about what to do. And he basically, reading this memoir is quite a bit like just pick an option and stick with that option. So he'll set a goal for himself, like, I want to go and explore a certain area, and he'll pick up his motorcycle or his canoe or his skis. There's a lot of things that he goes and does and packs in. He's had a lot of experiences. And that is the strength of this book. It really gives you a sense of the breadth and the depth of his experiences. Um, and it's really enjoyable to read on that basis. However, you can tell that the man is not a professional writer. There are places in this book, especially early on, that if I hadn't been reviewing it, I think I would have put it down just because of I just wasn't invested in the story of this man. And I'm grateful that I kept up with it, because the second half, this is about a 300-page book almost. And the second half of it, I think, was much more interesting to me. But I think the overall message of this book, because it goes through the author's recollections of his parents and a few recollections of the changes in the dairy industry and what effect that had on his family. And then, as I said, his later explorations as a young man in various parts of the United States and going through different experiences, not only the typical sexual awakening and finding his career path, but also really delving into his various sides as a human being and tapping into his creativity and his interests in a way that you don't find in many books by older people. I don't see that being talked about very much. And I think that's a strength of this book. However, there were plenty of times where he would be telling a story or giving a memory of something, and I wanted more of the actual substance, not just we entered into this place and I had recollections of person XYZ, and the conversation went like this, and I came out like this, and I learned this, and the rest is left up to you. Or you go from an experience that was very vivid, and very direct, and I'm like, I want to hear more about that. I want more details about that experience. And then it would focus, we'd be talking about his cross-country trip, and we'd get one paragraph about one state or one interaction, and the next paragraph would be 50 miles down the road, something else happened. So there's a sense in which that became disjointed, and sometimes I was looking for a broader point, maybe that the author wanted to make when there really wasn't one. But overall, I would recommend this book very much, especially if you know someone who's a little bit lost and maybe a little bit older. I don't know that a younger audience would really relate as much, but if you're a little bit older and you kind of felt like life has passed you by, or I don't know what to do, I want to do something and I feel stuck. He is a very big proponent of the just set a goal and make a decision, a conscious decision, take action toward that goal. And when you reach that goal, set another goal and see where life takes you. And the way that the thread of this book runs, you can actually see how that begins to unfold in his life. And I think that's the strength of this book. I would read more by this author, and I hope that he does write another memoir. But I think that he does have a ways to go technically, but it's not a bad book and it's not badly written, but you can tell that he's not a professional writer. But it is well put together, it's well organized, and definitely worth a read if you're looking for something to give you an interesting perspective and some tidbits about days that are long gone in the past and times that were in some ways maybe simpler and in some ways more difficult in a different way than now. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me for this short review and these short comments. This is a NetGalley book. It's my first NetGalley review, so if you're interested in reading it, it's available on NetGalley until July 31st. After that, it will be archived, but you can find it on Amazon. It was published by, I think, a relatively small press. It was published by Munn Avenue Press, as I said, this year. So let's give Mr. Robert Merrick Fuller some love and read his book. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to stop by, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you very much.